Let's talk about one of the best teams in the NBA through 20 games of the season so far, the Houston Rockets, who are a half game back as of this recording out of first place in the Western Conference, coming off of a big win against the Oklahoma City Thunder last night, and they are now embarking on a little road trip. They're in Sacramento to face off against the Kings, so this video will most likely be out before then, so if it sounds outdated, you know the reason why. But I wanted to talk specifically, just popping the hood and seeing what makes this Rockets team go, and it's a lot of things, obviously. One, their defensive identity. They just take pride in defending. Even Jalen Green will try, but they have awesome defenders across the board between a pit bull and Fred VanVleet, Dillon Brooks, obviously, Jabari Smith, and their super subs coming off of the bench. And those are the two guys that I want to talk about. I can talk about Alperen Sengun, who I really like. I'm someone who last summer, when the Rockets were doing their litany of free agent signings, not last summer, but the summer of 2023, and people were criticizing the Rockets for overpaying, I was sitting here saying I actually liked the Rockets offseason because you needed adults in the room. Ime Udoka was heading into his first year as the head coach, and clearly he wanted to have a defensive identity, and I actually liked the signings for what they were, mixed in with the young talent, and that seems to be mixing really well going into year two. The Rockets are both top 10 in offense and defensive rating per Cleaning the Glass. They're 10th in offense, 3rd in defensive rating, and they have two super subs coming off of the bench that can completely alter the trajectory of any given game, along with the talent they already have, and that is Amen Thompson and Tari Eason, both jumbo-sized wings that just make an impact immediately as soon as they step into the game. Amen Thompson is in his second season now, and all of his production has jumped across the board when it comes to scoring, rebounding, the efficiency, and defensively, as he leverages his nuclear athleticism and his length and his size. And then Tari Eason, who is a little bit different as a jumbo-sized wing compared to Amen Thompson. Tari Eason is longer, his hands are bigger, and he is just an absolute disruptor on the defensive end of the floor. Is healthy now, is about to play as many games as he did last year. His rookie year, he immediately displayed that he was just a deflection, steals, and block machine. And both of those guys, whenever they sub in, they just completely change the Rockets on the defensive end, in transition, and on top of that, they obviously work well when you mix them in with the starters, and more importantly, fit around Alperen Sengun, whose passing ability and just his game inside the three-point arc can open up some stuff for those other two. You can see it immediately when the Rockets decide to take out Jalen Green, leave the other four starters in there, Fred VanVleet, Dillon Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr., and Alperen Sengun, and they bring in Amen Thompson, who just brings a lot of different things compared to Jalen Green. And you'll see the numbers up on the screen here. When Amen Thompson replaces Jalen Green, the Rockets just get a whole new injection of size, even more elite athleticism, and Jalen Green is an elite athlete within his own right. But just the transition, defensively, there's just a lot more different things Amen Thompson brings to the table than Jalen Green does, and I'm someone who is still high on Jalen Green, even though it seems like a lot more people have been selling their stock, despite this really good start from the Rockets. But Amen Thompson defensively, one of the best one-on-one defenders in the NBA, one of the laterally quickest players in the NBA. He can stay in front of anybody, and I mean anybody. And not only that, his athleticism is so explosive that if he gets screened or if he loses track of his man defensively, he is quick enough to recover, and those deflections, those steals, those blocks he gets helping out on a drive, that just ignites transition. And you see it a lot of times when Amen Thompson and Tari Eason come into the game. They just wreck shit. That's about the best way I could describe it. Offensive rebounds, deflections on the defensive end, and then they're just super athletes and super long in transition. But a lot of times, Thompson and Eason just come into the game and just completely blow shit up on the defensive end. and it becomes fireworks in transition. Whether it's Tari Eason, who is a little bit of a different defender than Amin Thompson, can just play the passing lanes, gets deflections, gets those big old mitts on the ball whenever somebody is driving down and he decides to help out. And they just completely change the game with their energy and their activity. Whenever Amin Thompson and Tari Eason are in lineups together, the offensive rating's really good. The defensive rating, of course, is stellar. It's elite. And then the net rating is +10. That means the Rockets are outscoring opponents by 10 points per 100 possessions when Amin Thompson and Tari Eason are in the lineup. And then they fit well off of Sengun, as I mentioned earlier. Whenever it's Tari, Amin, and Sengun in the lineup, all three of them together, the offensive rating is completely off the charts, the defensive rating is completely dominant, and the net rating is outrageous. Amin Thompson is a very good cutter. He can cut off Sengun, and Sengun can find him along the dunker spot. He is taking a few more corner threes now, but Amin Thompson just finds ways to become an effective offensive player. And that was kind of his draft scouting report pre-draft, is that the Thompson twins just know how to cut off the ball. They know how to make themselves useful on the offensive end. And then Tari Eason, of course, he can do some of the same things. He can also catch stuff on the roll with his big old hands, and he can finish around the rim. I believe he's shooting 70% at the rim this year. So if you catch Tari Eason or throw the ball to Tari Eason in an advantageous position near the rim, he's going to find a way to score. And he can do a little self-creation, although you don't want him doing that too much. But if you get him away from the basket and he's one or two dribbles away, he can find a way to snake in, get a little floater off, or get a hook shot off. Needs to work on that three-pointer. It needs to get more back up to his rookie year. I'm just glad to see Tari Eason out there playing games and being healthy, because the Rockets have a bunch of really good players, but Tari Eason and Amin Thompson coming off of the bench as super subs, to not to do a corny Rockets analogy, but I'm going to do a corny Rockets analogy. If the Rocket is taking off at a really good speed with the starting five that you have, with the stack of really good players that you have, then Tari Eason and Amin Thompson are those booster rockets that really send the rocket ship into the stratosphere. Now I'm really going off here, but my point is, Amin Thompson and Tari Eason coming off of the bench as jumbo-sized wing super subs makes this Rockets team a lot more versatile in what they can do with their lineups. Amin and Tari play so well off of everybody on the roster, just with their activity, their smarts, their ability to change shit on the defensive end of the floor, because they're just elite at what they do. And they're a big reason, not all the reason obviously, but I just wanted to highlight that Amin Thompson and Tari Eason are big reasons as to why the Rockets are off to the start that they are on right now.